Happy Venus Day, cousins. I hope that you are well. Welcome to the Jupiter Uranus conjunction recording. I wanted to spill some tea with you guys about that situation, but I also wanted to use a physical representation. And I think I'm going to start doing this more for my clients, for my channel, for my Patreon, just because I know that I am speaking to a very specific community. So I want to do my best to educate, so that I can help you guys empower yourselves as well. If you know what you're looking at, then you know how to assess it and respond. So we will be having a Jupiter and Uranus conjunction that will be occurring tomorrow at 21 degrees of Taurus. Yes, on 420. Happy 420 day to my fellow 420ers. And it's just a day to us, right? But we'll participate in whatever festivities they have for us, right? This is also what I'm calling the eclipse season icing on the cake, because as of tomorrow, we will be officially out of eclipse season. You know, that few weeks before, few weeks after, that residual energy that we can feel will be done with it. But not before we have that icing on the cake, cherry on top, Jupiter Uranus conjunction. Uranus is the awakener, the unseen energy, the cosmic experience, that energy that cannot be seen. It must only be felt. Jupiter is the expander of the thing, whatever the thing may be. Jupiter is the largest planet in the sky, so anything it touches, it expands and makes larger. The last time we had this conjunction was in 2010. And then when I believe it was Jupiter that was retrograde, it happened again in 2011 briefly. The next time that it will occur will be in 2037, and that Jupiter Uranus conjunction will be in Cancer. The last time that this conjunction occurred in Taurus was in 1941 during World War II. So you're old enough now, if you're listening to this channel, you're old enough to have been alive in 2010. So I've seen some astrologers say go back and look at your camera roll to see what was going on. You can even go back to your Facebook posts, go see some of your Twitter archives. You know, who were you at that time? I was still in school for what is my current career right now. And it was really hard, man. Oh my gosh. When I stop and think about that time, I graduated in 2011. But I had started in 2009. 2010 was one of the hardest years of my life because I was stretching myself beyond my current state of experience. Prior to that time, I had never committed to a scholastic endeavor for longer than a couple of weeks. And most of what I had done, I didn't need to commit for longer than a couple of weeks, because at that time I was only a CNA. Shout out to all my CNAs out there. I don't say only in a belittling term. I say it is like that was the only thing I had done. And that schooling was 6 weeks, 8 weeks, even with the board exam. Oh, but that board exam almost kicked my ass. Let me tell you something. The board exam for CNA almost kicked my ass. But when I think about it, I still was more comfortable at the time of me becoming a CNA than what I was when I was going to school to become a surgical technician. It was just so hard. It was such a hard time. I was working 12-hour days. I was getting off of work an hour early so I could travel an hour across town to make it to class that would take place from 7 p.m. to 11 at night. And then I'd get up again at 6 a.m. to get back to work by 7:15 a.m. every day. Woo! The grinding. I was grinding. But my career, I'm so grateful for my career. I love what I do now. Here we are, 13 years later. And I can still say, man, I'm so happy I did it. I'm so happy I did it. Even my graduation was kind of like, getting to the point of graduation was a little traumatic, because the person who was doing my final exam was my biggest hater at the time. But now that I know something about something, it was Saturn saying, no, try again. Try again. You thought you'd do something, try it again. It was the universe on my ass because I needed a pressure in order to expand. So as I stop and reflect and think back to just how trivial life was at that time, y'all, I didn't even have a car. Oh no, I'm lying. I'm lying. I'm lying. I'm lying. I had a car at that time. It just was illegal. So I had to start riding with my homegirl. Because if I would have rode in my own car, then I would have been going to jail. Because the police that like basically monitored my street at that time told me if they see me again and I still have Nebraska plates because I was living in Texas and I had been doing that for like 3 years, they said they're gonna take me to jail and they're gonna take my car. Who could afford that? Couldn't afford that. Y'all, it was a time to be alive. But when I think about how it made me and molded me and built me into something better as it broke something else down. So that was my experience. What was your experience 13 years ago? Who were you 13 years ago? Okay. There's going to be a bit of a shock value. When we stop right now, we can look at there's been some floods. There was a flood in Dubai. I thought I heard of some volcanoes erupting or some tectonic plate shifting happening somewhere in the ocean. There's some earth disruptions that are occurring right now as we are on the ruffles of this big conjunction in the first earth sign of the zodiac. These are happening in Taurus, the first earth sign of the zodiac. So new chapters are unfolding. It's 11:11 as I'm reading. New chapters are unfolding. So ask yourself where you are ready for change. And I know I just said reading because these are my notes. And if you know, you know. If you've been around with me long enough, you know I have a notepad anywhere I go. Jupiter being the largest planet in the sky and Uranus being um, the lightning bolt and the energy that you can't see, but you can feel it. There's going to be this energy of rapid change. Like, I got to just get up and do it. I have to do it today, no matter what. Even if I don't know what exactly I'm doing, or I'm afraid to kind of do it, or I said I wasn't going to do it till July, I have to do it. This is a series of saying yes to our future self, to our future processes. Because again, Uranus, the awakener, Uranus is modern ruler of Aquarius. There's a lot going on with Aquarius energy right now, which is all showing us our future selves, who we can be. That's also what Uranus is, the innovative energy of who you can be if you're willing to leave this behind and lay this down in exchange for your future self. There's going to be some breakthroughs, some breakdowns, some expansions, and some collapses. We've been seeing it all over the world. I've been telling my Patreon collective for years. And in May, we're going to celebrate 4 years together as a collective. And I think that is just so dope. But anyway, I always tell them that when you look at when the main world is changing, the whole entire big world system is changing. Take that down a size into your life and how it's changing, because it is, right? It's happening at 21 degrees. Jupiter will be at 21 degrees, and that's what I'm showing you here. Jupiter will be at 21 degrees, and I think it already is at 21 degrees. Uranus is at 21 degrees. That's the Sagittarius degree point. So this will be a critical turning point for Sagittarius placement, Sun, Moon, Rising, Uranus. If you have Uranus, Sagittarius, this will be a very personal change for you, a very personal time for you. Looking at the larger picture, the larger road, new places, expansion, different opportunities. Taurus in the second house, ruler of the second house, finances, material possessions, tangible possessions, things that make you feel safe. Taurus is ruled by Venus. So anything that is being affected by Venus right now, or however Venus is being affected, and Venus is in Aries right now, with that Aries greater than a stellium party that's happening right now. Venus also rules Libra. And we had the Libra eclipse was the first eclipse that we had March 25th. So Libra placements, sun, moon, rising, north node, south node, still moving into position, still being activated and repositioned for the future self. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is in Aries at 19 degrees tomorrow of what the eclipse point was. The eclipse in Aries happened at 19 degrees. Venus is also conjunct Chiron, the key. Our childhood wounds, the wounded healer, which is also in Aries. We're being faced with the sword that we need to lay down. That sword is betrayal, dismay, what the world has done to us, because that's what Chiron shows us, what the world has done to us. But having to leave that alone finally, so that we can pick up the crown that comes from surviving that, y'all. We cannot keep dragging our pain into our present. We cannot keep walking around with the angry woman, battered woman, what's the word? Ostracized child syndrome. We have to move into the position of now prince and princess, king and queen, God and goddess, wearing the crown, sitting on the throne that comes because we survived that pain, not because we want to keep drawing it in with us. Because then that ultimately blocks our opportunities to see what's sitting right in front of us. Now, we still have Neptune, Mars, and Saturn, all in Pisces. Neptune's getting to the later degrees, and so is Mars, as it's getting ready to move into Aries in a couple of days. But Pisces, again, that 12th house energy, the end, conclusion. Mars, 22 degrees of Pisces. Saturn is in Pisces, and it's all quiet as we are peeling away the layers of our skin and allowing that new, more vulnerable layer to emerge. Yes, it can be uncomfortable, but it can be very exciting. Just always compare your life to the life of a butterfly. Now, not that it's going to be as short-lived as a butterfly, but even in Gnostic science, which the first religions, when you see the picture of the Gnostic holding the pyramid in one hand, but he's like trying to get a butterfly in the other, that's the symbolism that the butterfly is going to live a short life and die. So is the life of the Gnostic. So is the life of the metaphysicist. So is the life of the alchemist. Not that our physical life is short, but the experience that you are having from a 28-day period to a 28-day period is going to be seemingly different, significantly different. Life is a series of dying and rebirthing, dying and rebirthing. Every time you go to sleep, you die more. And then you rebirth when you wake with the morning sun, when you rise, So that tradition or that understanding that, yes, I'm going to try to grasp onto that butterfly because it's so beautiful, or I want to catch that butterfly and I want to trap it under glass because it's so beautiful and that experience was so beautiful, or that time was so beautiful. But ultimately, I had to allow it to die. The caterpillar dies or is born as a butterfly, but then dies 21 days later. I think there's only one butterfly, and I think it's the cottonwood or the cottonmouth. There's only one butterfly that lives for a year. So always in this cycle of rebirthing and regenerating and allowing yourself to do that in order to attain a new level of experience. We're going to be breaking free from our earth's chains so we can remember who we are, Simba. I love Lion King. I was in the 5th grade when Lion King came out. Me and my mama went to the movie theater to see it. I cried when he killed Mufasa. Now that I'm older, I still cry when I see that he's killing Mufasa, that hater ass Scar is killing Mufasa. But now I cry when I see what my nigga Simba have to go through, because Simba is led to believe. He's programmed from a child to believe that it is his fault that his father died. that it is his fault that his family is going to fall from grace. So he is pushed into squalor. He is pushed into the hood. He is pushed into nature, where at first, yes, he is running from himself. He is running from his truth. He is running from his past. But he is met by some creatures who become friends that teach him the ways of the world. How, yeah, you might be bougie and you used to eating antelope and having your pick of whatever litter you want to eat, but out here you're going to have to eat these bugs, my man. You're going to have to eat these bugs, and we'll show you which ones are the better ones, but you're going to have to be all right with that, you know? Because in order for you to level back up to realize exactly who you are, sometimes you have to go into the nothingness. And we talked about that last week, the phoenix rising from the ashes. You have to allow yourself to burn to the blackening, to the ashes of nothing. And it's not just one time in life. I remember a few years ago, I thought that the burning to the blackening of nothing into the ashes and rising to the phoenix was a one-time event, maybe a two-time event in your life. It's a lifetime event. You will die and rebirth many a times. You will die and rebirth many a times if you're doing it right. And if you find that you are exactly who you were a decade ago, then allow yourself to die. Allow that part of you to die so that you can embrace the newness of who you are going to become. The caterpillar believes that it is dying, but oh, damn, it's becoming a butterfly. And that beautiful experience, even though it will be short-lived, is worth the pain, the fear, the anxiety, the trauma, the cocooning, the isolation, and the rebirthing into what is to come. Simba having a conversation with a spirit guide that was a spirit guide from the beginning of his life, Rafiki. He didn't forgot about, he forgot about it because he out here in the hood, man. He just trying to do what he got to do, trying to live his best life. He didn't forgot that Rafiki is his spirit guide, and Rafiki didn't forgot about Simba. Kinda, he didn't spoke life over him. He didn't drew him into a tree. He didn't breathe protection dust on his life. But then he hears through the winds the little boy ain't dead. And he's like, oh, let me go get him and tell him who he is. And he had to hit him over the head a couple of times. Yo, remember who you are. He said, that's a reflection of me. Nah, fool, look harder. Because what did you really come here for? That's what Uranus is doing for us right now. It's unlocking us and setting us free to who we really came here to become. Since the beginning of eclipse season, we've been talking about the neocortex, and that 90% of what we believe, who we are, what we believe in, what we believe we're capable of, what we've even subscribed to prior to this was something that we inherited from our mother's environment. Her fears, her worries, her doubts, the way her father talked to her, the way your father talked to her while you were in her utero. But now the child actually gets to determine who they want to become without fear of rejection, without fear of being misunderstood, without trying to live up to someone's false expectations. They get to become who they truthfully are and want to be. And when Simba realized that he was Mufasa, that Mufasa can only live if he lives, that Mufasa's name and that legacy of greatness and having everything that the sun touches can only happen if he does what he does. He activated. He went back and reclaimed his throne. He put on the crown. And now Simba wasn't just a little lion who was, I laugh in the face of danger. He really done been in the face of danger, and he really laughed and fought and did what he needed to do to survive. And yet maybe he'll gather his grandchildren around sometimes and tell them about what happened. But the more over part of the story that is going to echo throughout history is that he came back to reclaim his throne. He made his ancestors proud and his future self proud and his future generations proud, because he allowed the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction of his life to set him free from whichever cell and walls he has been previously inhibited to. Join me on Patreon. I'm going to have an extended version where I go and I talk about all of the houses and how it's affecting you in whichever house you have. Your Uranus placement is a complete different thing, but that's exactly what's being affected now. So I will leave you with that tidbit of go identify your Uranus placement, go identify your Taurus placement, your Jupiter placement, and then put it all together. If you are interested in better understanding how this is affecting you, I encourage you to click the link in my bio, newsletter, wherever you may see this description box, and book a basement session. They are half off, making them $25 through the end of the month. So I encourage you to do that. Take advantage of that. We are still celebrating a 7-year anniversary, which the real date was yesterday. So it's a beautiful time to be alive. The way that things just keep growing, 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 and coming full circle. So y'all have a great week. I look forward to connecting with you in the ethers soon and very soon. Oh my God. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Okay. That's all right. All right. What it do, cousins? Mercury retrograde just played the hell out of me. Why did I just record for a good 30 minutes? I started recording at 11:11. As I started recording, it was 11:11. It's 11:26. Only for me to see that this thing was not recording at all. It's all right. It's all right. Y'all see my display picture. I'm all right. Mercury retrograde ain't gonna play me. We got a couple more days with Freddie Mercury. It's all right. I love Freddie Mercury, the musician, but Mercury retrograde trying to play me is not it. This is also the reason why I keep notes, yo. Everything that I talk about, I have notes. Because the way that I just went off the dome, I had put a lapis lazuli on my throat before I started talking, and the way that it activated it, and I was able to just flow. I really hope that it comes back. I hope that everything that I just said in the same way comes back. Okay? So I give gratitude to the universe, to the spirits, to the most high God and goddess, to my ancestors. Okay? Welcome to the Trap House. It's your favorite cousin. We are getting into the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that is occurring tomorrow, 420. Happy 420 day to all my 420ers, but we do that every day, so it's nothing to us. Occurring at 21 degrees of Taurus tomorrow. This is a huge conjunction. This is probably the biggest conjunction of the year. I'm calling it the eclipse season icing on the cake. Cherry on top, if you will. Every planet that's a major hitter, everything that's happening right now has been happening since the beginning of eclipse. And so this is just the cake that has been baking, and we are finalizing it with some icing on the cake. Now, the reason why I got played is because I was trying to share my screen with y'all, right? So I could show you how Taurus rules the second house. I know that this chart does not reveal houses, but that's what I'm here for, where you see these large dark marks at, this is where the house begins. So this is the second house here, Taurus. Taurus rules the second house. The second house is material possessions, tangible possessions, things that make you feel safe, your work ethic, your work, the type of work that you do, luxury, because it's ruled by Venus. Venus rules Taurus. So Venus, anything that makes you aesthetically pleasing, cosmetically pleasing, it makes you feel it was cute, so I wanted it. It was nice, so I added it to the cart. All that jazz. Jupiter Uranus conjunction is happening at 21 degrees. Okay, Uranus is the awakener, the unseen energy, the cosmic experience, the one that cannot be seen, it can only be felt. Jupiter is the expander of that thing, of whatever the thing is, because Jupiter is the largest planet in the sky. Anything that it touches, it expands. So with these two coming together, these two heavy hitters coming together, it is going to be a time of being innovative and looking deeper into who you can become if you allow that thing to be left behind, the thing that is making you afraid, the thing that programmed you to tell you that you weren't good enough, the thing that tells you that it's going to take too long for you to do it or you don't have enough capability. The last time that this conjunction occurred was in 2010. The next time that it will occur is in 2037, and it will be in Cancer. The last time that it occurred in Taurus was in 1941, and that was during World War II. When I stopped and looked back at my 2010 experience, that's when I was in school for the career that I currently have. I'm a certified surgical technician. And it was probably the hardest time of my life because I was being expanded into something I had never done before. Previously, my education was a CNA. That was a 6 to 8 week program. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it was challenging, but it was not as challenging as the next experience. The next experience, I had to do it with no car. I had to rely on my support system, which again, a couple of those people that supported me through my school journey are still my friends to this day. A girl gave me a whole free car because I didn't have a car. I had gone a whole year without having a car. And then a girl gifted me a car at my school. She was just looking at me one day and she was like, I have a car for you. And I was like, okay, how much you gonna pay for it? Because my mom had already told me she's gonna give me some money for it. She was like, no, I just told you I'm gonna give it to you for free. My teacher looked at us and was like, go get that car right now because she knew how bad I needed a car. Luck. This conjunction has the opportunity to provide huge breakthroughs, but it also will give you breakdowns because there are things that you will have to let go of in order for you to step into the new life. So school was extremely hard. My externship was extremely hard. Everything, that whole experience was very hard. It took me an entire year to get a job after I graduated, after going through a very hard time of trying to just get to school and work a 12-hour day. And it was crazy. But right now, 13 years later, I can applaud myself. I can big up my younger self. Like, yo, you did that shit. You did that. And you did it for your future self. And we are very proud. And we are very happy. And we're grateful that you did it. So look back on your 2010 experience. Where were you being stretched? Where were you being challenged? Where were you being blessed, though, because you were being stretched and being challenged? It's not saying that those same experiences are going to happen again, but it is kind of giving you the energetic field of what is happening right now. This experience is going to be a bit of a shock value. Right now, when we look around the world, we can see that there have been some floods. I think there's a flood in Dubai. I know I heard about some tectonic plates shifting somewhere in the ocean. Earth is experiencing a disruption right now, which is just a great reset. Some would call it a deluge. Well, deluge is really massive water, massive flooding, massive mudslides, but still, the great reset, is here. And I find that it's right on cue with the first Earth sign of the zodiac, and then it's having this huge conjunction for the first time in 13 years, and it won't happen again until 2037, right? New chapters are unfolding. Whenever there's something happening in the world on a world stage, and it's like, oh, that system has been it's been set for 100 years, and now all of a sudden it's being reset. Look at your life, because if major organizations and major things are changing, your life is changing, your world is changing, your small life is changing, but it's your life, so it's very huge. It's not minute. It's your life is changing, right? Where are you ready to be changed? Where are you tired of being tired? Where are you ready for a new chapter? Ready to activate change, even if you're not necessarily sure of where you are headed or what's going to come. Uranus is also the awakener. He carries a lightning bolt. Lightning shocks you into energy, shocks you into system, defibrillates you into the next consciousness, where you may have previously been afraid, but now you're saying yes, yes, yes to your future self and to your future processes. 21 degrees is the Sagittarius degree. So the expander, the Jupiter degree, the knowledge, philosophy, travel, adventure, applying what you have learned on your last adventure in this new thing that you're trying to do. Taurus is ruled by Venus, as I previously shared. Venus is in Aries. It's currently at 17 degrees. And I think that this chart, I don't have the minute by minute one. I just screenshotted it. So it's likely already at 18 degrees because by tomorrow it will be at 19 degrees, which is the eclipse point. The Aries eclipse happened at 19 degrees. So Venus is now in Aries at 19 degrees, the eclipse point. Venus is also conjunct Chiron. And Chiron is our childhood wound, our wounded healer, which is also in Aries. So all for the last 2 months, eclipse season, we have been faced with what we have to let go of, what sword we have to lay down, even if it's been of betrayal and dismay and seeing that this world is not all that great and that our friends and our family have been the number one ops that we've had. We have to let that go in order for us to retrieve the crown that comes from surviving that. We cannot keep dragging our pain into our present, in our presence. We're receiving presents and then we're putting pain into the present. You're asking for a new house, new car, new bag, new love, and then you're taking the pain from the past and putting that into the present. The gift wrapped present that you're asking the universe to deliver you. Why sabotage it? It's time to let go and look at the bigger scope of things and how, yes, the anger is righteous, the pain is righteous. You are rightful in feeling how you feel, but you also must be ready to live for your future self. Neptune, Mars, and Saturn are all still in Pisces. Neptune is getting to its final degrees. Mars is getting to its final degrees. Saturn is, there for the long haul. Saturn's there until 2026. But it's the quiet degree that Mars is going to be in tomorrow, 22 degrees, which is the Capricorn degree, the reflective degree. Quietly allowing ourselves to be skinned and letting that new skin grow back and be vulnerable and allowing this new layer of self to emerge from the masses. Saturn rules jail cells. Saturn rules boxes. Saturn has a hexagon and appears to be almost square shaped when you look at it from different diameters or on the bottom of it. Your whole life purpose is to figure out how to get out of your Saturn square, your compass in square. Masonic G, Gnosis, Gnosis. So by applying the Gnosis of your life, you are able to not ever be knocked off of your square, so to say, but you want to learn how to get out of your square. You don't want to be the one who has locked yourself in from your own memories, from your own pain, from the trauma that you've experienced. You don't want to keep locking yourself in there because that's a dark, dark place to be. And Saturn will let you stay there with his ice rings. He'll let you freeze on that shit if that's what you want to freeze on, but he'll also let you suffer because you want to stay there. So you ultimately want to learn how to go and come. You want to learn how to use the trigger. You want to learn how to respond to the trigger. You want to learn how to let it just be a crown around your head, like Saturn's rings around his head. Let it be a crown. Retrieve the crown for which you have survived, not continuing to be the victim. Letting that skin be fresh. When you think of, speaking of Gnosis, a lot of old Gnosis art depicts a man holding a pyramid or a triangle of some sort. And then in the other hand, he's trying to capture a butterfly. And some may look at that and say, oh, yes, he's just trying to capture the butterfly because it's so beautiful. But butterflies only live 21 days. They live as that caterpillar for, I believe, 17 days. And then they go in for a week or so and they become a butterfly and then they emerge as a butterfly and only live 21 days. There's only, I believe, one butterfly type that lives for longer than 21 days, and that's a year. So even then, still a very short life, but a beautiful life. And when the butterfly first emerges, their wings are the most vulnerable when they are still wet. They have not yet learned how to hold the wind. They have not learned how to fly through the wind. That's when they are going to be most vulnerable to the predator. But the Gnosis practitioner, the metaphysicist, the alchemist must apply the life of the butterfly to the life of them. 28-day cycle. In the next moon phase, in the next lunar cycle, you will be a different individual. In your crone lunar cycles, in your ages past 40, you will be more adept. You will have more wisdom than a person who's only in their 20th set of lunar phases. So you will have to be okay with the forever, eternal life and rebirth cycle that we experience as humans. I remember a couple of years ago, I was convinced that we only have that life and death cycle once or twice. It's a once or twice event in your life, but it's actually a lifetime event in your life. You will die and rebirth every time you learn something, every time you go to sleep, every time you let go of something, every time you let go of someone, every time you lose someone, every time you go on to something else, you are having a life and rebirth, a death and rebirth of that thing. So allowing yourself to be more vulnerable through that transition and not being so hell-bent on holding on to what eclipse season has already tried to pry from your cold, dead hands in the event of helping you rebirth into a new life. Allow yourself to break free from the chains. Remember who you are, Simba. Remember who you are. When I was younger, I was in the 5th grade when that movie came out. So my mother and I went to go see it in the theaters. I cried when Mufasa was killed by his brother Scar. But now as an adult, when I watch it with my daughter, I tear up and I cry because of Simba's journey once he has to leave. Because he is convinced and made to believe that it is his fault for the demise of the kingdom, that his father is gone, that they will not be able to, they will have to now be under the rulership of the evil, of the Dark Lord, right? So he goes off into the world. He goes off into nature, and he is pushed into uncomfortable circumstances. He is pushed into the hood of nature, and he is met by some strangers that will become friends, and they then teach him how to survive. They're like, yo, we know that you're used to eating antelope and you got the cream of the crop and the pick of the litter, but down here you eat bugs. You don't have to eat bugs, yo, in order for you to level back up. Because by the time you realize who you are again, you really gonna have a laurel to put on your cap. You're really gonna have a story to tell, a leg to stand on, because you're doing the work now. So he eats the bugs, he sleeps in trees, he does what he does. And then his spirit guide, Rafiki, who has spoke life over Simba, protection dust over him, drew him into a tree, be with him as he goes on his journey, as he goes on his Christ journey to receive his Saturn crown around his head. Because again, as I mentioned prior, Christ goes off into the desert for 21 years. And he out there for 21 years and he come back and he's ready to perform miracles. He's also ready to die for whatever he believes in, right? The mythical creature of Christ, because that person never existed. But we all have gone through that experience. And that is what it is depicting. So when his spirit guide comes back and it's like, yo, you the king. He's like, no, I ain't the king. That was my father. That ain't me. He's like, remember who you are, Simba. He had to hit that motherfucking head so that he would understand. Wake up. And he saw himself, but then he saw his reflection. And then he saw in the clouds his ancestor. And then his ancestor can only live and he can only guide him if he gives him something to guide. If Simba will get out of his own way, out of his own fear, out of his own disbelief. Because also what we have been talking about since the beginning of eclipse season is the neocortex. So Simba, as a young child, was programmed to believe what he feels, what he thinks is true, that he is not good enough, that he should not inherit the throne, that his father was not good enough, that he should not have had the throne. Chiron energy. You've been programmed to believe these things, but now in your real adulthood, you can go back and reclaim what is yours. You can go back and laugh where you cried. You can go back and show them I made it. Even though you tried to kill me, I'm still here. I'm still standing. Antoine Fisher. Because Simba allowed his Jupiter and Saturn conjunction. I mean, his Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, and Saturn, because Saturn's up in that thing too, to activate and affect him correctly. He was able to go back, get his throne, get his land, get his girl, then have a generation, protect his mama, live for the ancestors, and receive the gifts that he is supposed to inherit, everything that the sun touches, because he went back. He didn't keep running. He didn't keep allowing that fear and that, well, I'll just not be who I am. When you try to belittle yourself and not be who you are, then you have to live in squalor. Then you have run-ins with people that you shouldn't have run-ins with. And you're having to entertain shit you don't have to entertain. But when you remember who you are, you don't get down in the mud and you sling it with the bums. You let your night folk do that. You let your king's men do that. You let your ancestors, your spirit guides, the most highs do that for you. Saturn rules jail cells. Uranus is trying to give us the keys to unlock the jail cell. Saturn is ancient ruler of Aquarius. Uranus is modern ruler of Aquarius. Aquarius energy from the future is like, yo, I found a loophole. Come this way. Come this way and break free. I can show you how to do it. But you got to be bold enough. No nuts, no glory. Real talk, true story. Join me on Patreon. Link in bio. Link in newsletter. Link in description box. wherever this may be. I am going to do a play-by-play for each house, and how you can expect for this conjunction to affect you in whichever house that you have Taurus in. I'm also going to be talking about how the Jupiter house placement is being affected, um, as well as the other heavy hitters that are being affected here. So I look forward to connecting with you all in the near dear future. If you want more of a play-by-play and one-by-one for yourself, I encourage you to take advantage of the anniversary discount on my website. It is good through 4/29, no codes needed. Just add the cart, check out, and I will get in touch with you. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it gave you some empowerment, some education, because that's exactly what this conjunction is all about. I look forward to talking to y'all, and I will see you on the next side.